Okay, guys, welcome back to the show. And today I've got a very special guest, Mr. Jamie Coleman, the owner of No Limit Wrestling, is our guest on the show today. Also co-hosted by a familiar face on the show, Niall Hogan from the Upper Tier Podcast. Check them guys out on YouTube. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good. Tired, but good. We're all good. Always tired, always good.
I was only kind of saying there off camera that you guys know each other for a long time, and me and you, Jamie, have only kind of exchanged kind of few messages on Facebook because I attended a couple of your shows lately.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to, like, I was in Dublin, would say, in the glory years of OTT and the Tivoli and everything, but I was working in retail, so I was working like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all evenings. I missed a lot of shows. I think the last OTT show I went to before I made it up to Belfast during the lockdown was like the Sabu one, and that was a long time ago. And now I found a show that kind of would suit me and I can bring the kids to as well, which is your show, which is a great show as well, which we'll talk about in a while. But I suppose to start out with things, Jamie, just want to know how you fell into the world of wrestling.
Well, I suppose like everybody else, that fell into love with pro wrestling. It was just a thing that accidentally seen it on TV when I was 7. And that was a long time ago. That was 1990. So that was your Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior era. So probably the same as Niall there. Yeah. We're around a similar age. Niall's a little bit older than me. Just by a little bit. But so like everybody else, just fell in love with it as a kid, but never grew out of it. And I suppose how we fell into it was I worked originally on the original Irish Whip wrestling shows back in 2002, and then didn't really do anything else until No Limit Wrestling in 2006. And originally it was myself and Joe Cabray and Alex Breslin who started the original No Limit Wrestling, which was kind of like a much different presentation to what you'll see now. I know Niall was at them shows, used to go to them shows early on. We're talking 2006. So I know that Niall can contest to that. Was a different brand. At that time in Ireland, there was no real crossover between promotions. There was a little bit here and there, but there was the NWA Ireland school that worked out of Bray. Obviously famous now, your Paul Tracy and Fergal Devitt school. And then you had your Irish Whip Wrestling school and a couple of others. And you kind of just stuck to your own school back then. So there was no real, if you trained with NWA Ireland, you just done NWA Ireland shows. And if you trained with Irish Whip, you were doing Irish Whip shows. So what we wanted to do was like pluck the best out of each school and put them all together on one show. And nobody had really done that before. So that's kind of where we started the thought process of progressing from just a wrestling school shows into actual shows where people from anywhere could get booked if they were good enough and so on. So that's kind of where I feel like that's where it started in this country. That's where the independent wrestling scene started, because before then, as I say, it was very much your Irish Whip, you do all the Irish Whip shows. Your NWA, you do all, and there was what was that one called, Niall, with Blake Norton? CPW, was it?
CPW, yeah. That's the one. Remember, Joe went to it after IWW and stuff like that. Blake was involved in it, and Jerry then took over at one stage, didn't he? Yeah. That's
right, yeah. When Blake left. But, yes, so we just wanted to do something a little bit different and a little bit more edgy at the time. And we done our first show in the Ringside Club, which is where OTT still do their contender shows. And in from there, that's kind of where I started doing stuff properly within wrestling. And fast forward to now, and here we are, still doing it. 40 years old, still at it. Still haven't grown up.
It was a great show. That was a great show that night as well. I remember it well.
The show was, and I think you'll agree that it was something different. That what we were trying was something different at the time. Had never been done before. I think I remember you saying, Niall, that was like it had like a not that we were comparing ourselves to Ring of Honor, but I had that Ring of Honor feel, that there was excitement in the room. It was different.
Yeah.
We had people working together that had never worked together before. and there was no animosity. Everybody was on board except for one promoter from one school. There was one lad that didn't want anybody to cross over. Paul Tracy was cool with it. Fergal Devil was cool with it. Blake Norton was cool with it. The guys up the north were cool with it, and there was one guy who wasn't cool with it. So you can do the math on that one yourself.
Yeah, no, it was so cool to see the guys from the north down as well, because for a lot of the time down there, a lot of the conversations down here in the Republic kind of vilified them a lot, that they were the enemy up there and all sorts of stories came out there. But when the guys came down, it was fantastic. I remember, I think that was the first night I got to see Duncan, wasn't it? Duncan was on the show, and he was just he was absolutely electric. And I remember how emotional it was for Joe as well. If you remember, at the end of the show, I think Joe came out and he gave his mum flowers. Remember the big bouquet and the presentation? All it was because you guys, you weren't really sure how it was going to go, and you knocked it out of the park. It was a fabulous show.
And as you say, that the guys from the north came down, and they're still fucking here. We haven't got rid of them yet. And those the of the north now were the original, not Corvin, but Bonesaw, Duncan, and a couple of other guys from the north came down at that time. If you remember, Bobby Lee Harm, I think, was one of the guys, and they were all those guys.
Tron was on that show as well, was he? Tron, big lad. Tron was on as well. A lot of guys.
All the guys that started up the north, and we always thought that Duncan was phenomenally great look, great in the ring, and of course, as I say, they're all still here, so it must have been. Those lads are still here. I think Corvin wasn't even wrestling at that stage. Like, that's how long ago this was. That's how old we are.
Corvin was only coming down doing CPW shows at the time, wasn't he? And he was in the he was kind of going through kind of like a Shawn Michaels kind of phase with the ring gear and stuff like that and all, wasn't he? He came down, he was in the spangly bottoms and stuff and all. Like,
you know what? If he was, I don't even remember. I don't know.
And I remember him he was in decent shape, but he was a real skinny kid. Remember when he first came down?
I remember seeing Corvin, and it mightn't have been the first time, but the first time I remember was we did a show up the north with those guys. So they ran a show up the north, and Corvin was the ref. And it only hit me like a few years ago that, oh shit, that was you. You were the ref that day. Because I remember the ref, and we were talking to the ref, and I never put the two and two together because he looked so different then. He was quite thin back then, but that's what we had originally planned. That was the original thing. It was a different time then in wrestling, and we postered the absolute shit out of that show. Myself and Joe Cabray and Alex, we would just go and poster every opportunity we got, because we figured if we put up all the posters and nobody comes, well, we can say, well, we gave it our best shot and this isn't going to work. But we ended up selling it out. And I think the key to it was just the actual promotion that we did back then. Posters don't work as well anymore because you can't get them up, because everywhere is a spar or a centre and they don't let you. But and of course the added of the internet now. But back then we just posted and put everything we had into it.
Yeah, I remember, Maurice, there was great excitement at the time around the show as well, because no one had experienced these matchups and no one was expecting this to ever happen and stuff like that. So to get to see all these guys working together and against each other and stuff like that, it was quite groundbreaking at the time, because, as you know, Jamie, a lot of people in the background in other promotions were saying, oh, that'll never work, people won't get on and all this kind of thing and all. But it was brilliant the way kind of NLW came out. It was like this booking off the stem for Ireland. It was brilliant.
There was only, as I say, there was one group that wouldn't allow it to happen, and one guy from that group left in order to go and do this show. Because he just didn't agree with it, and he had to do the show because he was one of the promoters' brothers. So that will just show you the mindset was a little bit different back then. But I don't know if it was more of like you had NWA and Irish Whip wrestling back then. I think they butted heads a lot, but everybody else seemed to get along fine. And even at that, on that show day, everyone got on very well. So Maurice, I don't know if you remember any of this period of time in this country, but
the only kind of shows, because I was living down the country and then I was living up in Dundalk, I did do a few Irish Whip wrestling shows when I was in college, because we done a bit of a documentary as part of my college in Dundalk. That was in about 2008. So we were in where were we? We were in Wexford and Blanchardstown, maybe, I think, and we done a few of their shows, bumped into guys like Mandrake, the supermodel, sorry, was his name. And who else was there? Captain Rooney.
Well, I know,
guys
I know.
like that. But that was my only real taste of it.
Yeah. Pac was on the Irish Whip Wrestling show.
Yeah, he was actually, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Me and Joe went to see a show one day in the lab, which just went out to see a wrestling show one day, and Irish Whip and Pac was on. I remember looking at Pac going, holy fuck, how did he wake up one day and realise he could do all that? So yeah, it's funny when you look back. Yeah, but
yeah, Drew was on that show as well. Was that the Laughter Lounge? Is that the Laughter Lounge show?
Yeah.
Laughter Lounge. Drew was on that show as well. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Drew was Irish Whip Wrestling champion at the time. I think that's the show he came back to drop the belt. Remember? I think.
Okay.
Before he headed off. Yeah.
I just remember Pac.
Yeah.
That's all I can remember. I remember going and I remember seeing the same Pac.
Yeah.
But yeah. So obviously what we present today is a little bit different than what we presented then, but we've kind of just moved on a little bit with the times and realized that there's so much indie wrestling out there now with everybody that's running wrestling in this country. Everybody seems to have, you know, for better or for worse, attempted to somewhat copy the OTT style, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are. I'm paused here. You guys paused or frozen?
You're kind of frozen there at the moment. I can still hear you though.
Still hear you.
That's my okay. So yeah, for better or for worse, everyone seems to have tried to copy the OTT style of, you know, the adult sort of based indie wrestling. There was obviously Steve Muldoon was running really, really hokey kid shows for years, which was great for lads up and coming to get on them shows. I think those shows get a little bit of shit off people that's unwarranted because it was so different. They were very hokey, very camp style, very circus-like shows. They had, you know, the goodies versus the baddies, and that's how it was presented. And it was held in small towns around the country. And Steve was, you know, he was doing a great job. He was running every weekend. He was running those shows. Nobody was doing it here at the time. And all the guys were able to get on and get their reps in the ring and increase perfect their craft. And there's a lot of people that would have taken a lot longer to get on OTT main shows had they not been getting better and better and better every week on the .ie shows. And like Scotty Davis, he was doing them shows, and he ended up getting on OTT probably long before he would have had he not been doing them shows. And there's a lot of people that can say that, but the shows were very, very, very hokey, especially towards the end. And when them shows were done, there was nothing really like that out there. There was nothing for kids. So you've got all the promotions. OTT is over 18s and Dublin over 16s sometimes. It's all ages in Belfast. But then you've got like Hard Knocks Wrestling and Fight Factory, and they're all doing a great job. But there was nothing to. There was very little for both adults and kids to enjoy, and I think that's where if you can get that mix where you can keep everybody happy, you kind of struck gold. So, and a lot of people wouldn't go to NLW shows because they felt that they were just going to be these hokey kid shows as well. But I think now people are starting to realize that that's not the case. It's for everybody, and it's not hokey to, you know, it's hokey to a point, but wrestling is hokey to a point. But
yeah,
Maurice, you've been to the shows recently. Niall, you haven't been to shows recently, but the whole aim of it is to keep you happy if you're 4 or 40, you know, and it's hard to do, very hard to do. But I think we're doing an okay job of it now and learning every time. I don't know whether you agree with that or not, Maurice, from seeing the last.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, because I had the impression before I went to the show that it was going to be more kids based than it was. So I was pleasantly surprised to see the balance, as you said, between like keeping a 4-year-old and a 40-year-old happy. What I want to know is, how did the venue come about? Because the venue is unique because it's a theater. Obviously, I actually was in the cinema with my young fella the other day.
Yeah.
We sat into the cinema and we sat down to seat, and he goes to me, "When's the wrestling starting?"
Yeah, so that venue was the second venue we ran. So we ran the Ringside Club in Dublin in August 2006. That was the first NLW show. And the second one we ran was in the Mo Theatre. And at that time, I worked in Naas. I lived in Dublin, but I worked in Naas. So I just went in one day and said, "Can I run a wrestling show here?" And they were very welcoming. They were very up for it. They've always been great to me, that theatre. I think that's why they're just good people in that theatre. They're not, a lot of theatre folk can be tricky at times to deal with, but they're really good people in the Mo Theatre. And over the years, I've just built a relationship with them where they know me, I know them, and there's never been a crossword said, and I don't think there ever will be. They look after me, and I do my best to look after them. And I suppose it is a unique venue, but I think it's a great venue for wrestling. I think it's really unique. If that stage was up high, it wouldn't work. But the fact that the stage is on the ground, the fact that every seat isn't a bad seat in that place at all. I think people, kids especially, like to be on the aisle so they can maybe high five the guys on the way down. But other than that, the choice of seats doesn't matter because there is no bad seat in the place. I think the sound is great. I think the atmosphere is great. The lighting is great. The production is great. Everything we do in there is top of the pops. And that's just at this stage, that means like the fact that that venue look after me so well, there's no need for me to go anywhere else because I don't want to run 50 shows a year or anything like that. I just want to keep that venue and that brand going where it is. And that's our home. That's where we run it. Everyone knows now that's where we run it. And I think people that were reluctant to give it a go, that have given it a go, have realised it's only, people from Dublin, maybe it's not far. It's only down the road. It's free. We run on Sundays generally. It's free parking. And it's just, I think it's a great venue. I really do. I think I love that venue. I love the production value of it. And the theatre helped me out with that a lot. And they're just so accommodating that we can do things like stuff that another theatre might have let you do. We printed up big banners to hang from either side of the ring. And this happened before, years and years ago somewhere, and we got this stuff printed, and they were like, "Oh no, we couldn't possibly hang that up." As I say, these theatre folk can be tricky, but they're just so accommodating. They're like, "Yeah, no problem. We have chains. We're going to chain it to the rig. We're going to do this, and we're going to help." So they're really accommodating, and I think everybody that goes in as a spectator sees how friendly the staff are, and it's just a great place. It really is.
Yeah, really, Maurice. It has a real old-style World of Sport kind of territory feel to it, doesn't it? When you look down at the ring and stuff like that and all, it's really cool, like, and stuff. And I remember, Jamie, you remember the night we were there. Jamie's done a stellar job on this as well. When you think about it, every show that's there is absolutely fantastic, and it's been going since 2006. We still have the logo board, Jamie, on the door in the shop as well. Remember that you originally gave us one? That's still there on the door. There's a lot of history with that and stuff like that. But I remember the one that sticks out for me, Jamie. There was always one match on the card that always went out into the crowd and stuff, which was pretty cool and stuff like that. But I remember the one night, was it Leatherface versus Omen? And Leatherface came out, remember? And it was I think it was Tron, wasn't it? Came out and he was dressed as like Leatherface, and they did a stellar job. The whole place went dark with the red light, kind of like Finn Balor kind of thing, and the music and all. And he came out, and he scared the absolute bejesus out of every kid in the place, didn't he? It was brilliant. And Tron is such a ginormous human being.
He doesn't need a Leatherface to scare the kids. That's the thing.
No, absolutely not. No, I remember, you can't realize, Maurice, how big this guy is. I spoke to him at CPW shows before shows would happen, and I'm not messing here. I could be eye level nearly with his waist. He's this big, this guy, And he came out one night just as this Leatherface, and it was something different, stuff that. And I always liked Jamie as well, the way you had like the heels coming down one side and the baby faces coming down the other side and all that. It was real cool. It was real throwback and stuff like that. And of course, you're going since 2006, so obviously you got the recipe it's there, still going.
We're doing something right, and I think funny what you say about the heels coming down one side, and because now everyone comes down from the steps, but originally we had an entranceway with a little ramp and stuff, and it was just that ramp. I don't know if you remember that, Niall, but we had it in the Dublin venues as well. It was such a pain in the fucking tits to transport, and it started to bits of it started to break. So we actually demolished that during a match in the Moat. I think it was Joe Cabray versus Anthony Idol, I think, or Paddy Moore, something like that.
Anthony, I remember Anthony.
This thing was falling apart. We were like, oh, well, we just not bring it. And then we said, let's bring it and fucking destroy it during the match. So it was only after that then that we decided let's start bringing people down the steps. And there actually isn't a side for heels and a side for faces. And this is that every single show, all the guys say, and all the guys and girls say, which side is heels and which side is faces. And I always just say, just alternate. Just alternate. If you go down the left and your opponent goes down the right, there isn't actually a side for heels and faces.
Mix it up.
Maybe it goes like that. I don't know, but there isn't actually an allocated side for one or the other, because that wouldn't be fair on the kids on the left only getting the heels, you know. But it's alternate. But every show, they all say this, you know, which side is heels tonight, which side is babyface. It's not. It's just alternate. It's whatever side he goes down, you go down the other, you know. But that's another part of the show that's great, you know, because there is that the intimacy and the talent. The performers are close to the audience on their entrance stuff, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to me about the logistics of putting a show together, because obviously, are you doing a lot of this work yourself? Have you got someone to kind of write stuff with you in terms of storylines, matches, stuff like that?
No, so it's mainly done by me, with the exception of the Royal Rumble coming up. I have somebody to put that Royal Rumble together, because that's just not something that would not fit into the day. That would be just too hard to get 20 people together and trying to, because you can't just book a Rumble and say, well, you're 1, you're 2, you're 3, you're 4, and so on. It has to be a little bit more structured than that. So there is one of the guys going to look after that for me. Other than that, everything is just done by myself. You know, matches, storybook, and all that stuff. Promotion is done by me. Merchandise is designed and made by me, because that's my day job, is my own business doing clothing printing. So everything is pretty much done by me. Steve Savage helps me out a lot from Hard Knocks. He helps me out a lot with ring vans and stuff like that. And then there's a whole crew of people that help me out. Dawn Butler, you know Dawn, Niall? Dawn O'Donoghue, Danger Dawn. She helps me out a lot with social media. Barry Malone, Be Cool, helps me out so much on the day. He doesn't wrestle on them shows. He's only back wrestling on OTT now, obviously. But he helps me out a lot on the day. And Sammy D helps me out a lot on the day. Maxer. If Maxer shows up, we're good. Maxer helps me out by showing up, because you never know with Maxer, because he likes a game of golf. So Maxer could be out golfing in the morning. Maxer gets hit by a golf ball. Is he going to show up? But yeah, everybody. It's a great crew. Everybody's on board, and a lot of the guys that train in the schools come on the day and help out as well. A guy called Jacob and Tony, a girl called Tony. They always help out with the merchandise. They're always very eager to help doing anything, and so is everybody. It's a pleasant day. And Conor O'Connell, who works in the Moat Theatre, I'd be lost without Conor. Conor is such a hand. He's the one that will figure out a way to light a certain part if we want a certain part of the ring lift or anything, or where to hang a banner, where to shine the light on it. He helps me out with the visuals. He manages to he would help me out with a lot of the stuff that goes on the screen and stuff. Like, Conor's a really big help. He's in the sound box with me through the show. So realistically, everybody digs in, everybody helps. There's not a single person. To be honest with you, in wrestling, if there was somebody there that wasn't helping, they can go home, because everybody is either there to help or not. And this is a thing at the last show. There was so many people there to help. And I actually said before the show to everybody, there's too many people here, because the theatre don't like too many people there. They don't want the backstage full of people. But so many people that showed up to give a dig out, and I just said, if you're not here to help, then please don't be here, because otherwise you're just taking up space. Everybody helps. Everybody's there. Everyone's there to help. Everybody gets stuck in. So it really is. There's no dirt here. There's no drama. It really is just a very pleasant experience with everybody involved. So that
makes for a great environment show as well, doesn't it? Makes for such a better show as well. Than
everybody enjoys the show. Yeah. There's a little bit less pressure on people to do our shows than there is to do an OTT show, because OTT is at a level where you have to be completely 100% on. It's being recorded. Generally, it's an older crowd. Our shows are a little bit more. I want people to be, I want people to be calm. I want people to enjoy it, and I want them to be able to portray that. I want the fans sitting in the audience to be able to see that the performers enjoying themselves and they're not taking themselves too seriously, because it's Sunday afternoon wrestling, and that's what it's about. It's about everybody enjoying themselves. And once the wrestlers enjoying themselves in the ring, once the performers enjoying themselves, then that will transcend into the crowd. So it is not that people don't enjoy OTT, but it's it would be a much more intense environment for our talents. I suppose it's the difference between doing a live Raw and a WWE house show. You're gonna be you got to be turned on for the live show, and then you can enjoy yourself a little bit more on the house show. So we're the house show.
Yeah, much more critical audience, isn't it, when you step up into OTT and stuff like that as well? There's a expectation. Yeah, absolutely,
and that's what Joe's done there. He's created an environment where people expect a certain level, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And generally they'll get it, but it can be a lot of pressure on the performers as well, on talent. It can be a lot of pressure, especially sometimes when you've got such massive shows and with last minute changes that are inevitable in that environment. It's a lot of pressure. And I don't think people realize how much pressure it can be on talent, and how our talent here, our Irish talent, cope with it so well is a testament to them and the trainers and the people around them and the older people, because it's not easy. You've got young people there that have been thrown into this environment that is, unknown to them. Most of the people have a day job, and then they go and do this because this is what they want to do with their life. Jordan Devlin had a day job when he started doing OTT. The idea is to progress, so that becomes your day job. So there's a lot of pressure there, and OTT gives that platform for people to perform on. As I say, we're WWE Live. We're just a house show. We're Sunday Night Slam, or whatever they call it.
Jamie, question for you: Do you ever look at the NLW shows and look at that and think certain things you see in it would transcend up into OTT and stuff like that, or is it kind of just totally a different flavor? Is there stuff that yourself or Joe might look at and go, something that we've seen there that could transcend up into OTT, well, either a performer or an idea?
Yeah, 100%. It's a platform as well for people who might not necessarily be on the OTT shows to come and have an opportunity to sink or swim, because it is, no matter where you are, I think everybody's aspiration is to get to an OTT show and do it well and get a regular spot on an OTT show. But the whole thing about what we do there is that it does give people a platform to go on and maybe show what they can do. So a perfect example would be Fabulous Nikki and Josh, Bittersweet Josh. So they're kind of just come on OTT now, and they're BDE. What that stands for is beyond me, but they're sweet and sour. Whatever BDE means, they can't be called that on my show because it's a kids show. so you can put it together.
Okay.
But took you a minute, Maurice. But they're sweet and sour on my show. So the thing was with those guys was my show gave them an opportunity to go and, you know, for want of a better word, practice how their team might work, and maybe like iron out some of the stuff that wasn't working, and, you know, pick out and then go and say, well, we've done these NLW shows and we realized that A wasn't working, we realized B was working, and we should probably do C as well, and we put it all together. And then it's a case of, oh, Joe might see that and say, that really worked, so let's try them on OTT. So that's kind of what happened with those guys the last time. But yeah, there's always like, try really hard to give people an opportunity to go out and try. And sometimes they fail because they're not ready. But it's the experience of, you can go to training every week and you can learn how to throw all the suplexes you want, and you can learn to dive over the ropes and how to do it safely and so on. But the experience of working in front of a live paying crowd is priceless. And there's people that go out there and they sink, and there's people that go out there and they swim. And if you sink, it's like, look, you sank this time, but let's try this again in 6 months. Let's try this again in 12 months. And then there's people that go out and they get it, and they do so well. And you see that like Joe was at the shows as well most of the time, and he's looking to see, well, who can maybe add to OTT. Joe was always looking for you know, Irish guys to be more prominent on OTT shows. So if Joe has a talent in his school, for argument's sake, or another school, somebody has a talent, and they're like, well, I think this guy might be ready, but can we try him on NLW? And that's fine. That's what it's there for. It's there for that as well. It's there for people who are ready to make sure that they're ready. It's not there for anybody. It's not there for people to turn around and say, and I get it every day, and it's like, it's really hard to say no, but I get it every day. I might get 3 or 4 messages a day. Hi, can I be on your show? And some of the people I don't know, some of the people I do know, some of the people I've heard of. Some people will send matches and some people won't. They'll just expect me to know who they are. And it's NLW is still a brand where 200 people pay to go in that door and sit in a really, really nice venue and enjoy a really well-produced show. So not just anybody can go out there, not just anybody can go on the show, but certainly if somebody is deemed probably ready, you know, if somebody gives me, if somebody that's a trainer, say Paddy Morrow, says, I really think this guy is ready, I really think this girl is ready, but they just need to go out in front of a crowd and see. Well, I'll take Paddy's word for that they're not going to stink up the show, and we'll give that person a go. Because people need a go as well, you know, but you still have to put the reps in, and you still have to, somebody has to vouch for you to be ready, or you have to show something. And there is people that go out there that, I mean, Josh, Bittersweet Josh, he's only training like, I think like 15 months or something like that. And that kid gets it. He looks good. He presents really well, and he kind of gets what's going on, and he'll learn more and more every time he goes out there. So for him to go out there on NLW shows, it's really educational for him. And lads have to get reps in. Otherwise, they don't get better. And people can always improve, no matter what level you're at. So on our show, yeah, we give people a go if they're deemed ready to have a go. So yeah, to answer your question, you would see things that would work out. So we put Fabio and Limo together as a tag team, which hadn't been done before. On their top, they're really
great
good
together.
They're so good together, and nobody like that. It just by chance putting them together, and they just work so well together. And that tag team could go anywhere together, as the way they're presented on NLW. They're so good. So you know, so that might be something to look at. Joe, for example, would see those guys together and say, oh, you know, maybe down the line that's something to look at, and that's stored in his head because they are top of the pops as a tag team, and they were, you know.
Yeah. There was a lot of title changes at the last show. I think it was 3 in total, including what happened, and then you were an on-screen character. And I had watched an interview with you like maybe 2 days before that, saying that you were staying away from the ring, and then 2 days later you're in the ring.
Well, no, what I said in that interview was, if it was needed to progress a story, then I would do it. And Colin said, yes. No, I know, I see you, how stressed you are. You'll never leave that box. And I thought, fuck you, I'll leave the box. So yeah, it was it was needed. I think it was needed for that story to work. So yeah, 3 title changes. Maxer had a dicky ankle going in, so stuff had to be worked around Maxer. So the main event was supposed to be Maxer versus Danny Cross. And obviously we had to change that around because Maxer's took an ankle injury at OTT a couple of weeks prior. So it was just all changed, and it was Danny Cross winning the championship and losing it at the end to LJ, which I think was a great moment for LJ and a great moment for. I think that was like a little progression because LJ is one of the best we have here. And he's doing so much everywhere, you know. So him as champion makes perfect sense. And we did the tag championship switch as well, which was, again, it's storyline progression as well. It's not just title changes for the sake of it, because we introduced the Saviors of Destiny in the same breath as well. So that adds another layer, and it's a tag team division that we're building as well. And the Saviors are a good addition to that tag division as well. So I thought it was a great show. I thought it was one of the best shows we've done. You know,
it was a great show.
I think we kept people on their toes.
I like the way. I like the way things kind of one show leads into the other, and there's progression in that way. It's like when you sit down and watch an episode, we'll say, of Raw, and then you're kind of left with a cliffhanger at the end, and then it continues on to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's kind of remember when the ankle injury came about with Maxer, it was very much, we're going to change this, but we're going to change it for the better. We're not just going to change it for the sake of, you know, let's take Maxer out and put someone else in. So I kind of looked at it as, let's do it where it's something that people can leave talking about, and let's do it like almost like an episode of Raw when it used to be good, you know. Have something happen at the beginning that kind of has a little thread through the show, and then just loads happening, you know, loads happening. I want people who don't go to go, should have gone, you know.
Yeah.
And Raw didn't
talk to me about
anymore. It's not good anymore.
Go ahead.
I just said Raw did used to be good.
It's terrible.
It's the worst show on TV. It's so bad. It's so
Jamie, wrestling's still great. What are you talking about? Wrestling's still brilliant. What are you talking about?
Brilliant in gifts. No, Raw's not a good show. We really don't produce a very good show on Mondays anymore. You know, Niall, you know that show used to be so good. You would not miss that for anything. I remember
I still don't miss it, Jamie. I have a vested interest in these things.
Yeah, well, look, I
so have you.
I absolutely do, but you know, you have to keep up. But I still watch wrestling. I still watch wrestling a lot. But Raw's not good. It's not good TV. Definitely not. Piss poor TV.
Great to see another Irishman up there, though.
Yeah. It's just a shame it's not in a better era. That's all. Maybe they'll pull it out, pull it together. I don't know.
It is amazing, Jamie, when you look back over. Like, I know you nearly 20 years at this stage. It's amazing when we look back over that time and all the guys we've seen coming through, from Jordan wrestling as a kid, and Fergal and Paul, all these guys, Becky, and you know, Sheamus, even all these Drew coming over here to wrestle all the time and all, and now we see them all on Raw and stuff like that. And you know, these are guys, these are people we went to bars with for drinks, we went to birthdays, all that kind of stuff. And now to see them now out there absolutely knocking it out of the park, there's a huge satisfaction in that, you know. And
100%, yeah. And I think when you look at the Irish talent, all the people and Drew and the, you know, the honorary Irish, the people everyone you mentioned there, they're all some of they're all the cream of the crop. They're all some of the best that WWE have to offer. You know, like Finn Balor, you know, level up here. Sheamus has proven, you know, all the critics wrong. Like that lad has been around now since I think he debuted in 2009, 2010 maybe. Still going, still top of the game. Becky, of course. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah,
and, Jordan
now as well. Like, in ring, Jordan is one of the best, most crisp wrestlers that I've ever seen.
People forget the time they've put in as well. Like they've been at this years.
Yeah,
you know, they don't realize. Like, you know, I mean, I seen Jordan wrestle in 2006 or 2007. He was only a kid.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
And you know, it's just a case where with Jordan, like he's so good. It's just I just hope that the creative, you know, can be good enough to propel him where he needs to go.
Yeah, well, I suppose we hope that they see what we see and know.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it is.
You know, with you know, you see a lot of people that have so much potential, and once they get called up to main roster on WWE, they just they're stuck drops. I think Jordan's good enough that won't happen to him though. But here's hoping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks like they're going to put him with Finn anyway. That's what it's kind of looking like, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's only good for Jordan.
Yeah. But you can see even from like the talent in the country at the moment, like this is not going to be the end of Irish guys appearing on the big shows, is it?
Well, I think the most recent success story is Valkyrie. So she's killing it on NXT, and she's obviously, I think they obviously see big things in her, and she'll go to the main roster and be just fine. But so that's what I mean. They're still going. You know, and I think at this moment, I think WWE have like a hiring freeze on or something like that. So, but I think once the fourth quarter of the year comes around, they'll still be doing tryouts, and there's people from this country that are lined up for tryouts with the next batch of tryouts. People from OTT, people from this country. So it's definitely not gonna end because there's the talent is here.
I suppose when they have such success as well in a certain region, it's very clever to keep on going back there and keep on milking that market as such, you know what I mean? Because when you think about the size of this country and when you think about like the population of pro wrestlers that we have in this country, it's not huge, but yet there's so much success in there with Sheamus and Drew and Finn Balor and Becky and Jordan and Valkyrie and all these people who have gone in there. Like the hit rate has been absolutely massive. You think about like most of the people who have gone for tryouts and stuff like that, more or less, most of them have nearly been called up onto roster and stuff like that and made it.
Yeah.
So
it's not just the Irish talent, you know, like talent that was presented on OTT originally, Tivoli days, like Pete Dunne, Black Gibson, all these guys that, you know, they weren't
Black, all these guys,
doing OTT in Ireland. So OTT has a great reputation for being the cream of the crop of indie wrestling. So it's just, as I say, it's a platform for people to propel, and what we do then is okay, maybe that guy can get on that platform to hopefully propel, and then let's give them a go. Like, so that's the way it's always been. Everyone is rooting for each other. I don't think there's much drama.
Yeah,
I wish there was. I wish I could get Alex Wright numbers for you here. You know? Alex Wright is 7.5 people listen to Alex Wright, but I don't really have any dirt at all. All I can talk about is
Alex didn't really have any dirt. Some guys, like I get them on, and like I said to Niall when I started this thing, I kind of want to steer away from the the dirt and that kind of stuff. But inevitably, these guys like call each other out and they say, I've heard the most fucking ridiculous things over the last couple of years. Like, what was the last one? Sam Houston told me that cannibals tried to eat him in Papua New Guinea a few weeks ago, and that was a news article.
Sam Houston. That's a dark side. That's a dark side of the Ring episode.
Yeah, actually.
Sam Houston. Where do you find this?
I asked Paul Roma, what was it like working with Buff Bagwell? He goes, he was a spoiled bitch. That was his response.
Paul Roma. Big fan of Paul Roma. Always thought he was so
very nice guy.
Yeah, what a talent as well. Look, he was great. But got put in the Four Horsemen in WCW, and apparently like Blair and those guys were just not impressed with him being in the group. But they didn't mind taking Steve McMichael either. So I don't know where they're priority. What were they looking for? You know?
Yeah, they started out unflattering, and then they started taking everyone.
yeah, that's it.
NWO style.
Yeah,
NWO style.
What a time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wrestling's been good to us over the years.
I've kind of.
Go ahead, Maurice. Sorry.
Yeah. I said when you were talking about interviews in there, I've kind of went the opposite way. I started off by trying to get all these big names and blah, 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 whatever. Now I'm just going for the rarest people I can find, you know?
Well,
and that's kind of proven
no more rare than me. One more rare than me.
Not at all.
I couldn't possibly offer you any less than what I'm giving you.
What's it like doing the commentary role then for OTT? Do you enjoy that? Is it kind of less pressure when you're there doing that?
I love doing commentary for OTT, and that's just something that came about as well. Obviously Ango and Don Marnell used to do the commentary, and I just filled in for Don a couple of times when he was away. I probably just because I was the first person that Joe saw when he needed somebody and said, well, just jump in. And I really enjoyed doing it then, but I didn't really take it that seriously because I knew it was just a stand-in for one show. And then after the pandemic, there was the spot opened up for both commentary and ring announcing. I had expressed an interest in maybe doing the commentary. And then when the ring announcing came up, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to end up doing that because I've always done so much ring announcing. I've done ring announcing for everybody at one point or another, and I thought I'm just going to end up doing that. And I kind of just I would have done it, but I just kind of had enough of doing MC, and I wanted to give something else a go. So the commentary thing came up, and Dennis Murphy wanted to do ring announcing. He put his name forward. I think he put his name forward for both actually, and Joe just decided to go with Dennis on ring announcing, which was a really, really, really good move because Dennis is he's such a good voice. Dennis Murphy on OTT has such a good voice. He's a radio voice. He used to be on the radio, or still is maybe in Waterford. And the commentary then was, so the commentary role was mine then. And I spoke to Angus before the first show back. And we just had a couple of brief conversations about the general gist of what we do, and then it was very much a figure it out as we go sort of an effort. And it did take us a little while to gel well together because we didn't know each other that well, but now we've become really good friends, and now I think we gel together really well. And it's a pleasure to do it beside Ango because the man has the voice of an angel. I really like Angus. Just has the voice, like he's so good. His vocabulary is amazing as well. He knows words. He says words I can't spell. He's amazing. And I think we because we've kind of grown close and became friends, we're better now than we were at the beginning. And yeah, something we really enjoy. And we done our first Instagram live pre-show. Don't know if anyone saw it. You guys saw it before the last OTT show, and that was something we were both on. We've never done this before. Angus was kind of really a little bit nervous about it, you know. And we just said, let's wing it, you know, let's just wing it. And it was funny because it was his daughter's birthday that day, so he was going to be late to the venue, and it was my actual birthday that day as well, so I was going to be late to the venue. So we were both kind of later than we would usually be to the venue, and we still done that Instagram live, and I think it came across really well. Don't know if you saw it, Maurice, but you know,
I didn't see it. No,
it was done. So it was done out in as the crowd were coming in, and it was just kind of action, and it was just basically for us to run down the card, kind of do it in somewhat of an entertaining way. And this guy just walked right in front of the camera at one point. And rather than ignoring it, I said, "What the fuck are you doing walking by the camera?" And then he tried to walk by the camera again, totally, like, just not on purpose. Just this is what you're doing. Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's there a lot. Like, he's a nice guy. We could have chatted to him before, but he just twice, like once, walked by the camera, and then came back. And I called him some weird name. I called him like a filthy McNasty or something. You know, something really weird.
The OTT crowd, they do like their camera time, don't they?
Oh yeah. They do like to be part of the show. That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing the the commentary. It is a top.
Is there a lot of pressure on the commentary, Jamie, in terms of doing it and stuff like that? I mean, obviously, we know, especially with the OTT on demand and the playback and all the other good stuff that they do after the fact for people who can't get the shows or want to relive the shows and stuff like that. Is there a lot of pressure from that point of view in terms of the commentary and stuff like that? Do you feel like after a show that you've put in a shift kind of thing? And
you'd be worn out. Yeah. You'd be worn out. Yeah. I said it, the first one I did with Angus after it, I said, "That's fucking tiring." He went, "Yeah, I know." Yeah. It's not a chore by any stretch, because it's, you know, it's like anything you have a passion for, you're going to enjoy it. We will try and speak to most of the talents before the show, and they know to come to us as well if they want anything particular portrayed, if they want us to say anything particular to progress their story or the story that they're trying to tell in the match, and anything we can do. So in that respect, there's bits to remember. You know, we don't have someone in our ear or anything like that. So that would be stressful if we had someone in our ear. But we don't have anyone in their ear telling us stuff. Joe will give us pointers of what he might want to get across. If there's something happening on a show that you know might need a bit of prompting, storytelling wise, then that's up to us as well to do. So that stuff was a little bit overwhelming on you know, show 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it starts to become a little bit
natural,
more natural then, you know. So at the moment we have a good thing going. Everybody knows where we are. They know to come to us and, you know, tell us what story they're trying to tell. Learning the names of moves is probably the most difficult part for me to remember, because a lot of guys will have names for their own moves that they've made up themselves. So that sometimes can be a little bit. Ango's good at that. Names of import wrestlers that come over. Sometimes it can just, you know, go. Now we have our notes as well, so you can turn to your notes. But sometimes you get caught. Sometimes you get caught out with, "Ew, what is that guy's fucking name again?" You know. Just because it's so many new faces, so many imports. Yeah. You know, the Greedy Souls are over last show, and they just have the most normal names. Like, one guy's just called Brendan White. Sounds like, you know, well, let's all go around to Bren's house. Like, he just Brendan White. And I knew it was Brendan White, and I said Brendan White in commentary, and I thought to myself, that must be fucking wrong. That's too much of a normal name. I went back to the notes to check if it was in fact Brendan. It is in fact Brendan White. And it's not even his real name, apparently. He actually made that up as a wrestling name, so I don't know what happened there.
It's so funny. That's like those stories, Jamie. Remember years ago when you do the gym shows and stuff like that, and you'd be blooding guys in, and guys wouldn't even have thought of names or gimmicks or anything like that at that stage, and your man would be behind the curtain about to go out, and who are you tonight? Listen, you're Joey O'Brien tonight, or whatever it is. Yeah. You just go out as Joey O'Brien or whatever it was.
The days where Phil and Justy took over the Fight Factory, they used to they'd make up names for people. Yeah. Was a kid called Curtis, and they do a gym show, and he was Curtis, don't hurt us.
Yeah.
There was a guy there called Ian, and he had no gear, on his first show, and they found a singlet with flames on it. So you're Ian Inferno. So hot, so hot you're on fire, you know. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, remember back in the old Ring of Honor days, early days of Ring of Honor as well, they had these kind of random names for guys that came in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Felt like they were just on the spot names and stuff like that. It was really cool.
You kind of feel like that about the old enhancement talent on WWF as well.
Yeah.
They didn't even know what their own fucking name was going to come up on the screen.
Yeah.
You ever see that famous
Terry Gibbs.
Yeah. Did you ever see that famous one of the guy in WCW with you know, it's like a meme where he's I think his name was Randy Hogan, and he kind of just obviously this kind of jobber from South America or something comes out, not South America but down south, you know. He just had that look about him, you know, the hillbilly look, and he had the handlebar moustache. And
Maurice knows him well. Maurice knows him well.
I've chatted to him a few times. He's a gas character, that guy.
What's his real name?
Randy. Randy's actually his real name, but he's Mulelli or something like that is his second name.
Randy Hogan.
Yeah. He says that Hulk Hogan. He said that Hulk Hogan copied him.
Yeah. Don't they all?
Sorry, it didn't work out for you, Randy.
He done some. What did he do? He photoshopped one of Hogan's 8x10 images and put himself either beside him or over him, and Hogan's people got in touch with him. That was the only time he ever had a problem with him. But he's talked to Jimmy Hart about it, and he's going around to all the conventions now in America, pretty much dressed as Hulk Hogan.
Based off
Randy
that meme. Based off a screenshot of him being on WCW Saturday Night or something. Yeah. That's the most amazing thing about, you know, wrestling is such a crazy thing, and I suppose the same could be said for, you know, superhero stuff as well. But that somebody in 2023 can probably earn a living just from being on TV once and something going wrong for you, you know. I mean, you got a Shockmaster. You know, if that's all the Shockmaster had ever did, I know he was tugboat and typhoon and stuff and lots more, but if all he ever did was fall through that wall, he could be still making a living now. You know?
Yeah. Mad.
Yeah, sure. Me and Niall were only just talking that Nails is coming back for his first wrestling appearance in 30 years for a convention sometime in October, is it?
And you know what? Yeah. People will queue up to meet him. Like it's because it's nostalgia. Like everything is so nostalgic now. I've been lucky enough.
The encyclopedia signing.
Oh, okay. I saw a picture of Nails today. He had signed
Hasbro figure.
But it is funny. Like I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of my childhood heroes, and probably you as well have, Niall, as well, through wrestling shop signings and stuff. But it's nostalgia. Like, you know, it's people want to go back in time, you know, and you know yourself, if you could meet Nails, you probably would, you know. I remember him, you know, upending the Big Boss Man on Superstars. A little bit too violent for my liking at my age then, but yeah, Nails was one of them that scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Yeah, I think wasn't he involved in all that court stuff with the steroids and everything? Didn't he try kind of hang Vince out to dry as well?
I think he got fired for attacking Vince. He just disappeared. They were pushing him into a feud with Undertaker in '93, and he just disappeared. And I think it was something to do with he attacked Vince McMahon backstage or something like that.
Yeah.
Then he had a little cup of tea in WCW as the prisoner, I think he was called.
Yeah.
And that's it then.
Need to track that guy down for an interview, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave you with this one because we're kind of
you get some drama off him if he talk about it, you know.
Yeah, I'll leave you with this one because we're kind of touching on an hour now. A question for you from Ted there.
Yeah.
Who does he think is going to be the next Irish talent to sign one of the major companies? I know that's kind of could be a lot of people. There you go.
It would be impossible to pick one, but I suppose your safe bets are Session Mott, LJ Cleary, Sammy D. Like those guys are your best bet. I know Session Mott got very unlucky when she was signed to Ring of Honor and she was offered WWE as well at the time, but Ring of Honor was just a better deal for her at that time. And then obviously COVID came and just screwed that up on her. It was just bad timing for her, but she's always on people's radars, I think, as well. She's done a couple of appearances for AEW. You know, so definitely her. And then LJ is just, he's everywhere and he's determined as well. That's one thing with LJ. He's determined to get there. LJ wants to do this forever. This is all he wants to do. And LJ is one of them guys that has put everything into him. He's put all his stock into himself. He's bet on himself. LJ does this full time. Doesn't make a whole lot of money, but he's like that struggling comedian, you know, that will just do whatever.
Open mics everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And LJ does that, and the reason he does that is because this is what he wants to do, and he doesn't want to be distracted by anything else. And he trains people, he does seminars, he wrestles, he has branded himself wonderfully with merchandise. He always has really nice merchandise, and such a nice.
He's a great guy as well, isn't he? He's a great guy as well.
Yeah, man, he's so nice. He's so. I remember saying to him one day, you know, because he's very confident, and I just said, just watch that fine line between confidence and arrogance, because if people deem you to be arrogant, you know, that's when you start to get a bad name. But he never crossed that line into arrogance, because he's not arrogant. He's just confident. He bets on himself, and he's confident. He just does. He does it all. He does it all really. He does it all right. He does it all correctly. And like I say, he's just such a fucking nice guy. And him, and then Sammy D. I think Sammy D is just a tremendous talent. Sammy D is one of them guys that just got it from day one. I remember Sam training when he was like 14, 15 years old. His footwork was incredible. Everything he did was incredible. And he has a really, really good mind for business and for branding as well, with the whole draw thing. You know, the draw brand is huge as well now. So
I always remember Sammy's mum, Jamie. Remember Sammy's mum? She was what a woman. She was a great woman.
Yeah, I only seen her last week. Yeah, she's great. Twice. What a woman! And
she was the biggest fan.
Huge part of Sam's success as well, because Sam. I remember we lost our referee. Our referee pulled out for a show in Limerick one day, years and years ago, and I remember just ringing Sammy D, and saying, "Do you want to ref for us tomorrow in Limerick?" And he was, I don't know, he's 16 or something like that, and he was like, "Yeah, I could do that." And I said, "I just don't know how you'll get there." And he said, "My mum will bring me. She's my biggest fan." And his man brought him, and she's a wonderful woman as well. Yeah. So the answer is one of those three. If I was a betting man, Seshamot, LJ Cleary, Sammy D.
Yeah. Great. So next show anyway, coming up July, is it July 2nd?
Maybe you see me and Ango.
You could be signed as well.
Yeah, you might see me and Ango, and maybe fucking. Do you know who'll get signed before any of us? Foxy. Fucking Foxy.
Yeah. Do you know what they'll do? If they keep on signing all this Irish talent, they'll have to have an Irish commentator's desk at these shows and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
Cool, because it's even funny when Ballard does his promos and stuff like that. That gang of Irish that comes through and stuff like that. Some of them don't really get it, so they might need that Irish commentary booth there at some stage. You know,
translate. Yeah,
pretty cool.
Well, there's an Irish guy there. We didn't speak of the Irish commentator, Kevin Patrick or Patrick Kevin. Patrick, is it? He's another Irish guy, and he's doing the play-by-play on Raw now. Yeah. So big Irish feel off wrestling these days, which is great.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and it will continue as well. So next show, July 2nd. What are the tickets looking like? There's not too many left now, is there?
No, the tickets are quite limited. July 2nd, 3 p.m. motheater.com. If you haven't come before, come and give it a bash. We've got a 20-man over the top rope rumble. Sammy D versus Maxer, and more to be announced. So it's gonna be a good show, and I think that like I said earlier, there's no bad seats, so don't be put off if the only seats left are high up, because they're all good. They're all good seats. So please come and give us a go.
Yeah. And then Niall, for yourself, the Wrestling Shop, of course, and the Upper Tier podcast.
Yeah, just all the usual stuff covering pro wrestling and football at the moment on the podcast, and the Wrestling Shop just trundles along as it does, basically.
Well, if you haven't been in the Wrestling Shop, you need to go into the Wrestling Shop, because it's not just a shop. You've so much cool stuff in the glass casing in there and everything. And you've got the Ric Flair stuff in there. You've got rare shit that you wouldn't see.
Yeah. Signed stuff and all. Yeah.
Some really nice stuff in there, and loads of signed stuff as well. Some of it is for sale. And you know, if you're just a mad bastard who loves old school wrestling, you'll find something in there. Like, there's magazines in there from yesteryear that you can buy. It's a great spot. You really, really should check out Wrestling Shop in St. Stephen's Green if you haven't, because it's worth a trip in. Definitely, 100%. Great job you do there now.
Yeah.
Cheers, pal.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
How long are we going now in the Wrestling Shop? How many years is it now?
Coming up close to 20 years now. Be 20 years. Wow. Next year be 20 years. Started in 2004, so next year be 20 years, but we shall see. See
how it goes.
We'll have to organise a big party for that.
It depends on what their plans are for the centre and stuff like that. I might have to pitch a tent. Like, remember in the General when he pitched a tent when they were knocking down the flats? Might have to pitch a tent in the middle of the centre to keep it alive. It'd
be sad to see it go if they tear down the shopping centre, which is, I don't know. That shopping centre is iconic as well. I don't know why they would, fuck with that. I don't know.
Is that been talked about? Yeah,
that's been talked about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You see, like, tourists love that place because there's nowhere like it. And when you go up to that top floor and see the big clock and the whole look of the place is just, it has, again, it's nostalgia for the likes of me and Niall growing up in Dublin. Christmas time, Stephen's Green. It was, it's
Grafton Street.
7 years old in there, and you get the fields, Christmas fields. So it would be a shame. And obviously, you've been a part of that centre for, as you say, 20 years. So it'd be a shame to see you go, but you're not going anywhere yet. So
no, absolutely not.
Hop in and say hello to Niall.
Yeah. Sign the petition.
we get you set up somewhere else.
Have you on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll set up a mobile. Everything is kind of online these days. You could pretty much set up from home these days and work.
I'll get one of those RVs like Breaking Bad, and I'll travel around like those mobile libraries that go to small towns and stuff.
I'll give you a hand. I'll hang it out the window for you.
Jamie. Loads of John Cena stuff just hanging out of this RV and all. Yeah, absolutely. Good crack.
Yeah, Jon Cena.
His brother.
It's not quite John Cena. This is John Cena's brother.
Yeah. Get the H out.
Pleasure to have you both on, lads, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks. Thanks, Maurice. Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
No bother, man. Easy.